buddies, it's your girl AyChristene, and today I'm checking out a Domics animation. This is Breaking Up. I'm nervous to see what this is about, you know, because I know he's currently dating, so maybe he's talking about past breakups, unless he's talking about a current breakup, which I don't know. I don't know. So we're gonna find out. It is always tough to break up with someone, whether you're doing the breaking up or they're breaking up with you. I've been on both ends of that, and it sucks on either end. It does. So let's see what his video is about. Link for this video is in the description box below for you to check out. Now let's get started.
Is it just me, or has it been breakup season lately?
Are they bleeding on the ground?
Yeah. Oh. There never really seems to be a good time to break up. You're probably in the middle of deciding on when to break things off right now, but something's delaying it. Whether it's a concert you two planned on going to for a while, but it would be too much trouble to resell the tickets, or you're being considerate and waiting until exams are over so it won't affect your studies. But the reality is, there's never a good time. It's not some 9 a.m. appointment you can schedule next month. You do it soon, or you do it later. And the longer you wait, the harder it gets to do it. I consider one of the poorest ways of breaking up is acting like an asshole, so you force them to break up with you instead, because you're too much of a cow.
I like that, but it makes me think of The Office, because I went on like an Office binge. Season 8, and I think it's 8 and 9, or the last 2 seasons are my favorite seasons. They are a lot less stressful because Michael as a character was extremely stressful for me. But I love the last 2 seasons because they focus way more on the other characters in The Office. And one of them was Daryl, who wanted to go to Philadelphia and not have his girlfriend so he could be free there and single there. So he did things so that way she would break up with him. He wasn't a butthead about it, but he did it so she could break up with him because he didn't want to be the one to have to break up. But this made me think of that, the way he just slapped those boxes out of her hand and then was like, and then ran out of there. Kind of like, yeah, that's funny.
Coward to get your hands a little dirty. You manipulate the situation so that you become the dumpy instead.
Oh look,
you
pretending to cry.
The victim,
making
them the villain. What this does is it allows you to gain the sympathy of others who don't fully know the story from both perspectives or true reasoning of the breakup. And that sympathy helps you justify this ugly method of ending a relationship. This is how grudges are born, man.
The grudge.
So how do you do it? How do you just tell someone, you know what, Cindy? I don't think I want to do this anymore. I mean, you could.
Yeah, just say it like that.
Best case scenario is they mutually agree with you.
Not if you say it like that.
It's a clean transaction. You both admit you don't see things eye to eye, you don't have the same sense of humor, your father's racist, or you're just staying together for the sake of being in a relationship and not because you're actually in love with each other. But let's say you two aren't on the same page. It's way more difficult to convince the other party to...
I love the symbolism of using these images, like the eye to eye relationship, seeing on the same page. I'm loving it.
Comply with your decision. While my past video, You Should Probably Break Up, focused on the red flags in a relationship, I want to talk more about the inevitability of some relationships ending. These are the couples whose red flags they chose to ignore in the beginning, or partners who've just matured separately and have become different people,
which can
be incompatible with each other. Things aren't always in our control, and that holds true for people's mindsets when being in a relationship. Most people don't really plan ahead when starting their commitment to a person. They don't usually decide right away that, yes, this person right here will be my fully committed partner for all eternity, including future incarnations. No, you kind of just date people to discover what kind of people you're compatible with.
A lot of people, but there are crazy people who are like that.
What's the solution? You break up. A lot of people who have fallen out of love and remain in their relationships choose to stay because, to put it simply, it's comfy. There isn't really a catalyst for a breakup. No one cheated on anyone. It's just been a slow burn over the years about little things that added up. But you've invested all this time into each other's lives that it's just too much trouble to cut ties and deal with the aftermath.
So some people stay
together. You live
with
each other, so how do you decide who moves out, who keeps the dog? Your friends and family have known you two to be inseparable, so it seems beyond impossible to imagine you two breaking up. It's just so much pressure. It seems like a lot of work. But know that it's even more work to maintain a disingenuous relationship.
Exactly.
Best case scenario, you can stay friends. You just gotta convince the next person you're dating that you're still living with your ex and they have nothing to worry about.
No.
If you're gonna break things off with someone, do their next partner a favor by doing your ex a favor and be clear about the reasons why you're breaking up with them. Just because you're done with them doesn't mean the world is. All relationships are learning experiences, and it's so common for exes to emotionally scar each other so deeply that they're incapable of opening their doors to anyone new. Sometimes it can be really difficult to have a blank slate with new relationships. I get it. And old habits tend to carry over from the previous. But if we're supposed to learn from our mistakes, then we deserve to know what they are, even if we don't initially agree with them. You guys remember my 4th breakup story about how we ended really abruptly when I was convinced that everything was good and dandy, but they weren't. The breakup came out of nowhere. There was no discussion about it. Her decision was made, and I had no choice but to respect it. And so my self-esteem plummeted. I tried to appear okay on the outside, but I was really broken inside. I had this looming cloud of sadness for my whole final year of university. It was so distracting that I almost hoped that she just admitted to cheating on me because I was convinced that it's much easier to move on from someone when you hate them. But I didn't get an explanation. I was left wondering and didn't get closure. So I didn't know how to feel towards her and how to move on. Kind of like if you're watching a movie and just cut it midway. You really don't know how to feel about the movie because you didn't get the conclusion and you're left with unanswered questions.
Right, but with movies, I'm going to be picky here. I'm not going to be, it's not against Domics, but this is something relatable for me and my husband. Watching a movie, we can know how we feel about the movie before halfway in because we're very, when it comes to movies, we are very analytical. We are very analytical. When we watch a movie, we're talking to each other about things that we see. We'll even pause the movie, kind of like I do with Reacts. How I watch Reacts is how me and my husband watch movies. We'll stop it at some points and like talk about what we saw and like how we feel about what we saw, and even like sometimes guess how certain things might come back in, because we notice there's certain beats with movies. A lot of movies have hit certain beats, and we do that, and we're analytical. But so watching a movie, we can know from like maybe the first, I would say 15 minutes, whether it's going to be something enjoyable or whether it's not. You know, we have been surprised. I will say that. We've watched a movie and at the beginning we're like, I don't know about this. And by the end we're like, okay, it turned out pretty good. We didn't know at the beginning. But for the most part, we know whether we're going to like a movie or not at the beginning. It happens.
I don't know. Was it a good relationship? I don't know.
No.
Better late than never. Karen, or whatever name I gave her in the story, actually contacted me years later.
Oh, really?
Years after I made the video.
Oh.
It obviously caught me off guard, but I tried to handle the conversation maturely.
Right.
She apologized for what she put me through and admitted that the breakup was handled very poorly.
Oh,
she
so
was
she must have
young
seen
and
the video.
didn't know what to do at the time. We talked for a bit, and I finally got my explanation.
Okay.
I got my closure.
That's
I
good.
really didn't care too much about the details of the explanation. I already spent years after the breakup theorizing what it could be, but it wasn't all that surprising. I just really respected her maturity in approaching me about her situation.
That's good. That's
Something
good.
that was way in the past and kind of unnecessary for her to do because of the time that's passed. I wanted to hear it directly from her, instead of from my thoughts. And I greatly appreciate that she did.
That's good.
No, we're not friends again. She made it clear that the purpose of the conversation was simply to give me the explanation that I deserved. It wasn't a rekindling of a friendship, and weirdly enough, I was okay with it.
That's
not
good.
at first, but it made sense to me afterwards.
Right,
We
right.
became strangers again, and it wasn't sad. The common problem with most failed relationships is that both parties usually have no idea what they're getting themselves into.
True.
They have a raging amount of passion going into it, and they expect the relationship to match their fantasies. And they handle it poorly when it doesn't. The majority of us aren't lucky enough to find our soulmate right away on the first try. The majority of us have exes. Some more than others. And the fact that exes exist means that most relationships fail. Oh man, that's a sad fact. And a lot of us have definitely not been properly equipped to maturely handle breakups when we were young. I'm not saying to be ready for a breakup when getting into a relationship.
True, that's not good.
That's kind of messed up.
Right.
It's kind of pessimistic.
And that
just try to
messes
develop
things
the
up worse.
empathy and a level head for dealing with problems when they arise. It's real easy to make decisions fueled by emotion, and it's very often that they lead to undesired outcomes.
Exactly.
I like to think that if you use emotions as fuel, it's kind of like driving a car that you can't steer. Good luck with that. No one likes going through a breakup.
He said that like he's been through that. It was kind of like, I've been there before. I know what that's like. Good luck. That was funny.
Learn how to deal with. Thank you for listening to my PSA. I'm sorry if your partner breaks up with you later tonight.
Yeah, oh my gosh. What kind of an ending was that? Like, hey, sorry for my PSA, and also sorry, or thanks for listening to my PSA. Sorry if you get dumped today. Like, that's pretty messed up ending. But, breakups do suck. Like I said, being on either side of it, I do agree with him on not knowing why is probably, I think it's one of the worst things. Like, if you don't know why. And I've actually been in a relationship where the person purposely did things so I would break up with them. And it was because they wanted to date someone else that they were working with, you know, which really sucks to be on that, to be in the mixture of that, because like our story sounded like a rom-com, you know, and I'll tell you more about that another time if you guys really want to hear it. It sounded like a rom-com. So let me know about you. Like, I want to know, like, your breakup stories. Did you have something where you learned, or are you in a situation, not are you, but were you in a situation where they never told you anything, so you don't even know why they broke up with you? Let's all chat down below in the comment section. If you like that video, check out the link in the description box below to support Domics. If you like this video, hug the like button. I love you guys as always, and until next time, buddies.